So we are planning to do Chapter 4, Are You Getting the Sleep You Need? Activity 22, asking questions about meaning. Asking questions about meaning. And this is a very important topic because you want to know what a word means. You want to know what an idea means. You want to know what an expression means. So you need to know how to ask the question. And you know, question formation, the way we form questions in English, is a little bit complicated in terms of grammar. So we want to look at the words and the word order, how we make the questions. So I'm going to give you several ways to ask a question. And you can see them in the blue box at the top of page 150. Can you see that? Okay, so you see 4 different patterns to ask about the meaning of a word or concept. Now these are not the only 4 ways we can use, but these are 4 common ways that we're going to practice in our lesson today. So one of them is a very easy one that you can use with any kind of word. It doesn't matter if the word is a noun, a verb, adjective, adverb, or if the phrase is any of those things. It doesn't matter. You can just say, what does mean? Right? And in the middle, you have to put the whatever one you want to say. So what does blank mean? What does X mean? What does something, something, something mean? All right? So we have to have what does, and then we have the subject, and then we have the word mean. So when we examine the grammar of that sentence, we see that we have the word what at the beginning, because you know that WH words in English always come at the beginning of the question. Who, what, where, why, how. Those words come at the beginning. The next word is always the auxiliary verb. What tense is the verb does? Present tense, that's right. It's present tense because a word means something always. Always means the same thing. So if we talk about a word's meaning, its definition, we're going to use the present tense. Now this is different if you're talking about somebody said something. What did you mean by that? That means in your last sentence or yesterday when you said something. But we're asking about the definition of a word. We're talking about its meaning always. That's why we use the present tense. Do you remember that when we use the word does, we have to use the base form of the verb. And the base form is without any S. So does something mean? What does this word mean? What does analogy mean? What does accumulate mean? What does cut down on mean? What does nod off mean? What does sleep debt mean? What does emphasize mean? Can you see how I'm making the sentence using that pattern? Okay, and we always rise on the word that we want to know about. What does emphasize mean? What does accumulate mean? So we want to stress or make longer and higher the word whose meaning we need to know. So we can use this no matter what part of speech the word is. We can also use the sentence pattern, what is the meaning of brr? What is the meaning of brr? And then of course you have to put in your own brr. Right? What is the meaning of cut down on? What is the meaning of enormous? What is the meaning of pay back? So in this case we're using the verb be, and we're using the simple present tense verb is. What is the meaning of? Of is followed by the word. What is the meaning of biological clock? What is the meaning of specific? So we put the word that we want to know about at the end of the question. So those are 2 of the structures that are very, very common, and we can use them for any part of speech. However, sometimes we know that we want to learn the verb, that we want to know the meaning of a word, and we know that the word is a verb. Then we can use the infinitive form of the verb to ask this question. What does it mean to brr? What does it mean to brr? And then you have to put in a verb there. What does it mean to emphasize? What does it mean to recommend? What does it mean to sleep? All right, so you can use this in front of a verb. So that's where you'll put a verb. If you know that it's a verb or a verb phrase, what does it mean? To cut back on. Right? So if it's a verb or a verb phrase, phrasal verb, you can put it there. Suppose you know that the word is a noun or a noun phrase. Suppose you know that it's a count noun, and you know that you should use a or an in front of it. Then you can ask, what is a brr? Or what is an brr? And you can put the word there if you know that it's a count noun, if it's a count noun. Now, if you know nouns, you have count nouns and you have non-count nouns. So how about the word debt? Is that countable or not? Can you have one debt and several debts? No. Yes, sure. If I owe money to the bank for my car, and I owe money to my bank for my house, and I owe money to my friend, then I have 3 debts. So you can count this word. So you can ask the question like this: what is a debt? What is a debt? What is a debt? So in that case, you can explain, you can ask the question using a noun phrase, and if you know it's countable, you put the word in front of it. Now, suppose you don't know the fruit orange, then you would have to put an in front of it. What is an orange? I think you already know the answer to that one. But if there's a word that you're not sure of that begins with the letter A, and it's a count noun, you can put a or un. What if it's a non-count noun? What if it's a non-count noun? Do you use a? No. Do you use un? No. So if it's a non-count noun, then you would ask the question, what is, and then you don't use an, you don't use an article, you don't use a, you don't use a. So if you know the phrase sleep debt, the phrase sleep debt, that one is non-countable. So you can say, what is sleep debt? Right? So you can ask a question like that. Or maybe you want to know, what is sleep deprivation? I've heard this term before. I've read the term in my book, but I don't know what it means. Do you know? What is sleep deprivation? So in that case, I'm asking the question without using an article. Are you with me? Okay. Now, let's look at exercises 1 through 4. We can see we have our questions and our answers. So let's go ahead and practice the pronunciation. Do you have your mirror? Why don't you take your mirror out, and that way you can practice both the structure and the pronunciation of these sentences. If you can see my lips and compare them with yours, that might be also very helpful. Number 1, what does accumulate mean? What does accumulate mean? Good. I'm glad to watch and see that some of you are using your bodies to help remind you where to put the stress. So you know the word accumulate has 4 syllables. Where am I pushing myself up? Where am I stretching my body? Q on the second one, because that is accumulate. 4, 2. Okay, watch me again. Can you see me? Yes. What does accumulate mean? Oh, that sounds beautiful. You know why? Because you're speaking with your whole body. That makes a big difference in how you sound. You sound great. Accumulate means to grow or increase in number over a period of time. Your money accumulates in your bank account. If you don't use it all. Good. Now let's say the whole answer together. Ready? Together. Accumulate means to grow or increase in number over a period of time. Your money accumulates in your bank account if you don't use it all. All right, let's try number 2. Listen and repeat. What is the meaning of nod off? What is the meaning of nod off? Okay, look at me and watch my body motion. Look at me. Do you see where I am? Okay, if you look at me, you can see my body movement. And I'd like you to stretch up on the stressed syllable, because that way you know where to make your syllable stronger and higher and longer. What is the meaning of nod off?
What is the meaning of nod off?
Doesn't that sound better? Really? Yeah, okay, so remember to use your body to help remind you where to make the syllable longer, higher, and stronger, okay? What is the meaning of nod off?
What is the meaning of nod off?
Very nice. It means
It means
to let your head fall forward.
to let your head fall forward
And you fall asleep.
and you fall asleep
Like this.
like this.
I'm watching you. Are you doing it? Okay, good. Let's say that whole thing. What's the answer? Let's say the answer together. It means to let your head fall forward and you fall asleep like this. Okay, let's try number 3. What does it mean?
What does it mean
To emphasize something.
to emphasize something?
All right, let me see your stretching on the stressed syllable. What does it mean to emphasize something?
What does it mean to emphasize something?
It means to place importance on it
It means to place importance
or stress it.
or stress it.
You can emphasize something
You can emphasize something
by saying it loudly
by saying it loudly
or repeating it.
or repeating it.
All right, let's say the answer from the beginning. Ready? It means to place importance on it or stress it. You can emphasize something by saying it loudly or repeating it. Okay, good. Let's take a look at number 4. What is the biological clock? What is the biological clock? Can you look at me, please? Biological. That sounds so much better. Why? Why does that sound better? Because you're stressing the right syllable and you're stretching your body to show the stress. Biological. Very nice. Biological clock. Yes, good. What is the biological clock? The biological clock is an internal mechanism. Okay, could you look at me, please? Look at me. Internal mechanism. Internal mechanism. Beautiful. Okay. Watch me. The biological clock is an internal mechanism. Very nice. That controls many body functions. Very nice. Such as temperature. Watch me. Such as temperature. Very good. And awakening. Very nice. From the beginning, please. The biological clock is an internal mechanism that controls many body functions such as temperature and awakening. Very nice. Good job. Good job. Okay, now on the next page, on page 151, there we have a box with all of the words, the words and phrases that you're going to ask about. And you're supposed to make up questions about the words and phrases in the box using the activities on the previous page. So I'm going to give you a partner, and I'd like you and your partner to check out the questions that you made to fit the answers on page 151. Ready?